start now, since we're live. Start in 3 minutes.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
So nice to be here with you. Come on, let's join together in the words Yedid Nefesh on page 332, also 636. Yedid Nefesh al harachavat meshohavtecha el ritzonecha yarutz avtecha kemo
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. It's amazing to be standing here with my colleagues. It's taken us just about a year to get this close together to lead Shabbat services together, and it's a remarkable thing to be singing next to the cantor. And what we next need to add to this mix is all of you, and we're going to do that right at the beginning of July. So step by step, we are coming back together, and we're thrilled, of course, though, on this Shabbat that you're joining us online. And slowly, you'll be here. And of course, together, wherever you are, we're building this sanctuary on this Shabbat. Our portion, Ba'alotecha, begins with the command to Aaron to light the lamps of the menorah of the Mishkan, the 7-branch candelabra that became, over time, a national symbol of Israel. And the word Ba'alotecha literally means when you raise up, as in raising up the lights. And the phrase is based upon the Hebrew root ayin lamed he, which means to elevate, to lift up, to ascend. The Hasidic rabbi known as the Sfat Emet offers an interpretation of this phrase, Ba'alotecha. He suggests that raising the light symbolizes not only the awakening of our consciousness, but also the elevation of spiritual power. And I'm pretty sure that we all need some elevation. This has been a time of vulnerability, of pressure, of turmoil for so many of us. This has been, for some, a fearful week as we confront a surge in anti-Semitic attacks in America. But this is an hour of peace, of safety, as we construct through song and prayer and teaching a sanctuary in time. We need Shabbat, and we begin by bringing in the light and by raising up our spirits.
Bring in the light, bring in the light, bring in the light of Shabbat. We light the lights of Shabbat. Bring in the light, bring in the light, bring in the light of Shabbat. Lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Shabbat shalom. May you have a peaceful day. Shabbat shalom. May you have a restful day. Bring in the light, bring in the light, bring in the light of Shabbat. We light the lights of Shabbat. Bring in the light, bring in the light, bring in the light of Shabbat. Lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Shabbat shalom. As we watch the candles shine. Shabbat shalom. Cover the challah, pour the wine. Bring in the light, bring in the light, bring in the light of Shabbat. We light the lights of Shabbat. Shabbat shalom. Time to take a big deep breath. Shabbat shalom. A special day for us to rest. Bring in the light, bring in the light, bring in the light of Shabbat. We light the lights of Shabbat. Lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Tomorrow morning, Leila Krefetz and Henry Brill will become B'nai Mitzvah right here. And we invite them and their families to lead us now in lighting the lights. continue now with Kiddush. And we invite Layla to begin. Go ahead.
Kihuya, Tehila, Lemiko, Echo, Dash, Zeher, Mutia, Mitra, Nai, Kiva, New, Far, the Otal, New, Make all, for me, the Shaw, all the God, the all, do right. King Hall Top New Baruch Mekatu Hasha But
Amen. L'chaim.
Very nicely done. Beautiful.
We welcome Shabbat with the words of Lecha Dodi on page 20 or 138. And as always, we will sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9.
La 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 lecha dodi. La 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 lecha tzala. La 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 penei Shabbat. Penei Shabbat. Nekabela. La 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 la
Turn now to the call to worship, the Baruch Hu, on page 28 or 146. Continue with the words of Roll into Dark, our twilight prayer.
Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day.
34 or 152.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
You can be seated. Now I'd like to welcome next week's bar mitzvah, Ari Shverden, to lead us in the words of V'ahavta, page 36 or 154. Yasher Koach. We turn now to page 40 or 158 as we sing the song of redemption. We can imagine it, that day of redemption and liberation. It's coming. Let's sing together.
Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Menorah tehilot, oseh melech. Menorah tehilot, oseh melech. Adonai Eloh le'olam vaed. Malchutecha ra'umanecha, lokei hayal v'nilo shel Miriam. Ze'eli anu v'yamru, ze'eli anu v'yamiru. Adonai imoch le'olam vaed. Yai la la la, ya la la, ya la la la. Yai la la la, ya la 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 la. Yai la la la, ya la la, ya la la la. Yai la la la, ya la la, yai la. Menorah tehilot, oseh melech. Menorah tehilot, oseh melech. Adonai imoch le'olam vaed. ונאמר, כי פד אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני,
now to our nighttime prayer, our prayer for peace and shelter and security for us, for Israel, for all the world. Let's join together in these words as soon as they appear on your screen.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom, L'Shalom, Ve'hamidenu Shomreinu L'Chaim. Ufros Aleinu Sukkot Shlomecha, Ufros Aleinu Sukkot Shlomecha. Amen. Shelter us beneath your wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. 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 Baruch atah Adonai, haporeh sukkot. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim.
On page 46 or 164, the words of Adonai Sifatai Tiftach are opening meditation to the Amidah. If you're able, I invite you to rise. We'll chant the first few blessings together and then have some moments for silent prayer or silent meditation.
Adonai Svatai Tivtas, Adonai Svatai Tivtas, Ufi Haginim Tehillah Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevii Geula livnei bneihem, Leman Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham v'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol atah, Rav le'Hoshia, Morid atah. Mechalkel chayim b'chesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim v'rofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha bal gevurot, Omidam elach, Melech memit umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kadoshim b'chol yom yehalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
Page 60, 178.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki
Turn to the part of service where we bring prayers of healing to all those who are in need of renewal of body, renewal of mind, or renewal of spirit. The Betham community this week is praying for a speedy healing for David Ben-Ami, Ginny Anderson, Diane Denenberg, Linda Derman, Mason Easley, Arlene Gillian, Barbara Heikim, Dorothy Hupert, Moritz Hupert, Marvin Jones, Sue Reihut, David Baruch Ben Simona, Donna Spenger, and Jane Stone. If you're thinking of someone in need of healing, I invite you to say their name out loud wherever you may be at this time, so we can add them to our prayer.
Healer of the broken-hearted, binder of their wounds, counter of uncountable stars. You know who they are. Haro Felish Furelem, Umechabesh Leatzvotam, Unemispar LaKochavim, Lechulam Shemot Yikra. Healer of the broken-hearted, binder of our wounds, counter of uncountable stars. You know who we are.
All right. Kol od balevav penima, nefesh Yehudi homiyah. As long as in the heart within, the soul of a Jew still yearns, and onward towards the ends of the east, an eye still gazes towards Zion. Our hope is not yet lost, the hope of 2,000 years, to be a free nation in our land, the land of Zion and Jerusalem. It is a strange choice for a national anthem. The haunting melody, the longing, somber lyrics. No rocket's red glare. No jour de gloire est arrivé. Israel's national anthem is no triumphant victory march. It is also, like so many things about Israel, controversial. The lyrics of Hatikva were written in 1878 as a poem by Naftali Herz Imber, an Austro-Hungarian Jew. The music was written 10 years later by Samuel Cohen, a Romanian Jew who based the melody on a Moldavian folk song. It quickly became a popular song among the Chalutzim, the Jewish pioneers of the early Zionist movement. But the song always had its detractors. Theodor Herzl didn't like the fact that the lyrics were written by Imber, who was, as one contemporary described him, a vagabond, a drunkard, and a Hebrew poet. Others didn't like the fact that the melody wasn't from Jewish tradition. Religious Zionists objected to the omission of God from the lyrics. Socialist Zionists objected to the messianic overtones they saw in the reference to a return to the land. And cultural Zionists objected to the minor key, which they described as gloomy and depressing. But in spite of all the objections, Hatikva stole the hearts of the people, becoming the de facto national anthem once the State of Israel was established. It finally became the official anthem in 2004. It's easy to see why people love Hatikva. It captures the deep love and longing for the land of Israel that has been a hallmark of the Jewish experience for thousands of years. In Hatikva, we hear the echoes of our ancestors, those who wept by the rivers of Babylon, those who were exiled and found new homes in North Africa and Babylonia and across Europe, but who still turned towards Jerusalem whenever they prayed. We hear the echo of Yehuda Halevi, the great 12th century Spanish poet who wrote, "My heart is in the east, but I am at the edge of the west." And we hear the echoes of the early Zionists, who envisioned an ancient promise being made real with their own hands. It might seem ironic that long after the establishment of the State of Israel, Hatikva remains the anthem. After all, we are no longer dreaming of a Jewish state. We have one. But it is equally clear that the dream has not been fully realized. We are not yet a free people in our land, the land of Zion and Jerusalem. Hatikva has not yet been fulfilled. The Jewish people are not yet free in Israel because of the ongoing conflict with the Palestinian people. I hope that wherever we fall on the political spectrum, left, right, or I have no idea, we can agree on that. Being free generally does not include having to run to a bomb shelter for cover. The current situation is, to use a technical term, horrible. During this latest confrontation, I heard from so many people, not just about their fear or anger, but also their despair. We've seen this before. Hamas firing rockets from Gaza, Israel responding with airstrikes, hundreds of civilians, including dozens of children, killed, and then a ceasefire called until the next time. It's hard to know who won this round or what winning even looks like. Both sides can and did spin the story to claim victory, but even some Israeli military officials aren't sure what they achieved or whether it will prevent or delay another round of violence. The Jewish people in Israel are not yet free. They're not free from the threat of physical harm, and they're not free from the political and moral harm that come along with the ongoing occupation of the Palestinian territories. As Dalia Scheinlin, an Israeli political strategist, writes, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict dominates Israeli politics, muscling out sound policymaking in other critical areas of life. The conflict is suffocating liberal values, eroding Israel's democratic institutions. Israel leadership at large is collapsing under its weight. It is time, she continues, to accept that it's not just that Israel controls Palestinians in the conflict. Palestine also controls Israel. The occupation and the festering political conflict since 1948 have permeated every part of our society, political and social institutions, and well-being. Scheinlin goes on to describe the many ways that sustaining the occupation dominates Israeli politics and undermines democratic institutions, from coalition building to the judiciary. We don't have to debate the history that led to the current state of affairs or assign blame to see that the current situation is simply not acceptable for a democratic society. Even in the name of national security, you can't justify occupying the territory of 5 million people and depriving them of civil and human rights, among them the right to move freely, the right to vote, and the right to have access to equal education, health care, and basic human needs. Not for over 50 years. The moral depravity of Hamas does not release Israel from its own moral and democratic obligations. As Rabbi Daniel Hartman writes, since most Israelis believe there is no peace partner, we have removed the peace process from our public and policy agendas. But why have we removed all discourse about our moral responsibilities towards the Palestinians from these agendas? We offered and they said no is the accepted narrative. And consequently, all suffering they may experience is their own responsibility. Released from any responsibility, we are exempt from blame. Criticism of Israel is either anti-Semitic, when done by others, or betrayal, when voiced by fellow Jews. And here lies yet another form of captivity. The captivity that many American Jews feel when it comes to discussion of Israel. Over the past few weeks, I've had numerous conversations with Beth Am members who are struggling to understand how they can both support Israel and remain true to their Reform Jewish values. When they watch the news and think Israel has used disproportionate force in response to Hamas's rockets, they wonder if they're being disloyal. When they are as disturbed by reports of Israelis attacking Palestinians as they are about Palestinians attacking Israelis, they wonder if they're being disloyal. And when they voice one of these concerns and are told by other Jews that they're being disloyal, they wonder if they're being disloyal. For what it's worth, I don't think you're being disloyal. Or I should say, I don't think we are. If we take the teachings of our tradition seriously, teachings about the dignity and worth of all human beings, teachings about choosing life and not oppressing the stranger, teachings about doing justice, loving kindness, and walking humbly with our God, then these teachings should also apply to our thinking about Israel. How paradoxical would it be to say that in order to preserve the Jewish state, we must leave Judaism out of the discussion? Being Jewish has often come at a high price. Exiles, crusades, pogroms, attempted genocide. Our people has endured it all. Even today, even here in the other promised land, United States of America, we are the targets of harassment and violence. And that is, of course, one of the main reasons Jews have longed for a homeland for all these years. A place, a safe haven where none shall make us afraid. It is yet another irony that the behavior of the state of Israel, that supposed safe haven, has become a convenient pretext for anti-Semites to abuse us. But we have also longed for the land of Israel because of what it represents. The covenant between God and the people Israel. The place where the Jewish people can be free to live out its values and fulfill its mission to be an Or LaGoyim, a light unto the nations. To be a free people in our land, free from harm and free to live according to Jewish values and commitments. Both are dreams that are still unfulfilled. It's not up to any one of us to figure out how Israel can get out of this moral and political quagmire. Though if you have any good ideas, maybe send a letter to the Knesset. What is up to us is to face the truth about what Israel is and is not, at least not yet, and still remain committed to Hatikva, to the hope of what Israel could be. So it turns out that Hatikva really is still the perfect anthem of the state of Israel. Od lo avda tikvatenu, Hatikva bat shnot alpayim, liot am chofshi be'artzenu, Eretz Sion v'Yerushalayim. Our hope is not yet lost, the hope of 2,000 years, to be a free nation in our land, the land of Zion and Jerusalem. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Rabbi Weissman. If you're able, I invite you to rise for words of Aleinu, 282 or 586.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוצר ארץ, ומקדשיו יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגובה מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. One day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. All my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more, there'll be no more war, and our children will play one day, one day, one day. Oh yeah, 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 one day, one day, one day. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more, there'll be no more war, and the children will play one day, one day, one day. Oh yeah, 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 one day, one day, one day.
As we prepare for words of Kaddish, we note that the pandemic of gun violence hit close to us this week. No doubt we are all shook by the tragedy in San Jose, and our thoughts go to all of the families of the victims of the VTA shooting that happened on Wednesday. We also know that this weekend is not just a weekend for barbecues and for days off of school and work, but it is our opportunity as a proud synagogue in the United States of America to remember those who have lost their lives in the defense of this great country. Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, God of our God and of our ancestors, watch over those who defend our nation. Shield them from harm and guide them in all their pursuits. Grant their commanders wisdom and discernment in their time of preparation and on the battlefield. Should battle erupt, may their victory be swift and complete. May the loss of life for any of your creations be avoided. Grant healing to those who are wounded and safe redemption to those who fall into enemy hands. For those who have lost their lives, grant consolation in your presence to those who close to them. We also ask that you stand with our president and our military leaders. Guide them in their decision-making so that your will is implanted within their minds. May it be your will that world hostilities come to a rapid end and that those in service are returned safely to their families. We pray that freedom will dawn for the oppressed, and fervently we hope that the vision of your prophet will come to be. Let nation not lift up sword against nation, nor learn war anymore. May this vision come to pass speedily in our own day. Amen. If you have a loved one who lost his or her life in defense of the United States of America, I invite you to rise at this time and speak their name out loud. Lost to the Beth Am community this week. When I read the name of your loved one, I invite you to stand. We're Edith Rosenkrantz, our member, the mother of Bobby and Heather, of Jerry and Lauren, of Ricardo and Laura, the grandmother of Tamara, Adrian, Monica, Lily, Tommy, Emma, Alejandro, Anna, and Sophia and Patrick. And our member Jerry Frankel, the father of Yarden and Gilly, and our member Adam and Jennifer, and Jessica, Rebecca, Ari, Max, Miriam, Rivka, and Yedidiah. Rosalind Levitt, the sister of our member Marlene Levinson. Geraldine Steinberg, our member, the mother of Tom Steinberg and Shandel, of Joan Lawrence, and our members Rob Steinberg and Alice Erber, and the grandmother to many grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And to Bernice Leader, the sister of Barbara and Jerry August. In this period of Shloshim, the 30 days since passing, we remember with love Zoe Nussbaum, Marilyn Goldfarb, Milt Greenstein, Kathleen Isaacs, Hyman Minchner, Mardell Cohn, Adam Marks, Lawrence Levin, and Jaron Feldstein. And in this period of Yartzeit, the anniversary of death, we remember with love Helen Anderson, Marcel Behar, Charles Bendis, Leonid Berkovich, Leonard Bossett, Alexander Castle, Fanny Cohn, Dorothy Davis, Mario DiFilippo, Leon Dorison, Helene Epstein, Bill Feldman, Frida Fried, Howard Friedman, Robert Gallen, Susan Gaskell, Hannah Gellen, Benjamin Geschwind, Marion Gordon, Harold Graham, Marta Jolis Green, Howard Haft, Diane Hallert, Harold Katz, Martha Kennedy, Richard Kleinberg, Rose Klenzak, Louis O. Lawrence, Eugenia Leonov, Edward Lipton, Elizabeth Lowe, Milton Lubin, Doris Ludhart, Edith Matisow, Stuart Moldow, Michael Morrison, Abraham Niren, Sylvia Niren, Lita Nyes, Kathy Pither, Shirlene Plathson, Arthur E. Rector, Alan Reed, Minnie Robbins, Max Rosenblum, Doris Russikow, Roberta Schwabasher, Ken Selak, Frank Selak, Arlene Sobel, Sarah Sorokis, Bernice Stein, Lavona Sterngold, Edgar Stone, William Streeter, Ann Ticko, David Paul Tinsley, Jack Westerman, Hilda Woeful, and Marilyn Zuckerman. If you're thinking of someone who's passed away recently or this period of Yartzeit, or even just someone that's on your mind, I invite you to rise and share their name at this time. Kaddish Yatom, Mourner's Kaddish, is on page 294 or 598. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'amad divrach kirtei be'amlich malchutei. B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'gala uv'izman karib b'imru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevarach Le'olam Ulmei Almaya. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekusha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata b'nechemata da'amiram bi'alma b'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. B'chayim aleinu bi'al kol Yisrael b'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imrumav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu bi'al kol Yisrael b'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, Amen.
A reminder that we continue to collect tzedakah on this Shabbat and throughout this month for Hagar, Jewish Arab Education for Equality. Hagar is the only integrated bilingual educational institution for Jewish and Arab residents in the south of Israel. It was founded in 2006 by Jewish and Arab parents living in the Negev who believe that building a community space and bilingual educational system based on the values of tolerance and mutual respect will break down the wall of fear and ignorance that separates the Arab and Jewish people. And certainly, the events that we've witnessed during the last few weeks within Israel prove the need for this organization, and we encourage you to support it generously. I want to invite you too to the foyer that will begin immediately after this service. Rabbi Weissman will join you there, and I invite questions or a gentle conversation about her extraordinary sermon that we heard tonight. So she'll be with you there. We conclude now with the singing of Adon Olam on page 321 or 625.
Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem kol Yetzir Nira, Et Nasa, V'chefsho kol, Azai Melech, Shemo Yikra. Acharei kichlot hakol levado imloch nora v'hu haya v'hu hoveh v'hu yeh v'tifara. Adon Olam Hashem alach b'terem kol Yetzir nivra ve'et nasa v'chefso kol azay melech shemo nivra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora v'hu haya v'hu oyeh v'hu yeh v'tifara. Adon Olam Hashem alach b'terem kol Yetzir nivra ve'et nasa v'chefso kol azay melech shemo nivra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora v'hu haya v'hu hoveh v'tifara v'hu haya v'hu hoveh v'tifara. Last paragraph. B'yado afiruchi be'et isha ve'ayira u'reisiruchi kevi Olam Hashem halach v'terem kol yitzirni rale ein atzav v'chefso kol azay v'lech shemo nikra Yacharei tivot hakol levado yimlok Torah v'hu haya v'hu ove v'hu yeh v'tifarat Olam Hashem halach v'terem kol yitzirni rale ein atzav v'chefso kol azay v'lech shemo nikra Yacharei tivot hakol levado yimlok Torah v'hu haya v'hu ove v'tifarat v'hu haya v'hu ove
Woo! Cantor's out of breath, so I'll lead Motzi. Join with us. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom. It's time for your dance.
Kol Yisrael